Hello, moonbeams. Welcome back to my channel, Mystic Moon School. I am Donna, and I am your astrologer here on this channel. And we meet every week to talk about the moon and where she is transiting through the zodiac each week. And as we know, if you've been here for a little while, we know she moves pretty quick. She moves through the entire zodiac each and every month. And while she is moving through the signs, she is also aspecting all of the other planets in our solar system. And she is our inner emotional world. And so whenever she is in a sign, she is beaming down those energies to us. And whenever she is aspecting a planet, she is sharing and beaming those energies down to us as well. And so we are here this week, August 11th through the 18th. And this is a huge week. Huge. This is a turning point week, and I will explain that in just a few moments. Last week in my podcast, I kind of alluded to the month of August being a very big month. And I'm going to unpack all of that for you guys. So if you would like to, if you haven't already, grabbed your journal and maybe a delicious something or other to drink while we sit down and settle in for this podcast. And you can map out your week ahead. Even if you don't have your own natal chart and aren't really familiar yet with how to read your chart and how to track the moon as she's moving through the signs in your own chart, this podcast really is going to be enough information where you can, whatever resonates for you, you want to jot that down, right? If your ears kind of perk up about something, then you want to jot that down. And you can even, just do the days of the week ahead and whatever keywords kind of jump out at you. You don't need to work specifically with your natal chart to really benefit from this podcast and benefit from learning about these energies. Any level of self-awareness around these energies and how they are showing up in our world is going to be so beneficial to you. So welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're back, and I'm so glad to be sharing this information with you. And so let's get into it. Okay, so this podcast is airing on Sunday, August 11th. And this week, of course, I will be speaking about the moon and where she's going to be transiting, through the signs this week, and then what significant aspects she will be making during the week. But we have a very big outer planet energy square happening this week, and also some other squares happening, and this is forming the backdrop for the week. Okay, so I am calling this week the first quarter karmic turning point in our spiritual expansion. And the reason why is because of the Jupiter-Saturn square that is taking place towards the end of the week. And of course, the energy of this is building all week until we get to that exact degree point of the square. Now, I want to rewind a little bit and go back in time to 2020. And we had what was called the Great Conjunction on the winter solstice, December 21st, 2020. And this is when we began a new 20-year cycle of Jupiter and Saturn meeting up together in the sky on December 21st. Now, this only happens every 20 years, right? So therefore, it's a big deal, okay? And I'm going to break this down for you so that we can really understand the significance on a collective level, but then for us individually. And really, truly, the collective, we don't have a collective without each one of us, right? Every individual and their energy makes up the collective, all of humanity's collective consciousness and the collective energy. What we see playing out on the world stage is a macro representation of what each one of us individually is going through as well. It is not separate. There is no separation. That is an illusion, right? And so when we are looking at the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, these are the planets that are affecting us generationally, collectively, and where we will see things playing out on the world stage. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't affect us very personally as well. We all have these planets in our chart, somewhere in our chart, right? In a specific house. And so it is one. That's the point I'm trying to make. It is both going to affect collectively humanity at large, and these are big shifts that are happening on the world stage and for all of humanity. And also, we're going to be seeing it playing out in our own individual lives because, like I said, it is not separate. We are all one. So, when we had the Great Conjunction on December 21st, 2020, if you remember, this is before the world changed. This is just before COVID hit the world in our true awareness. I mean, it was actually already happening, right? But we didn't see it yet on for what it was on a big scale yet. But it was already out in the world. Now, before we move any further, I want to talk about December 21st and how significant that date was for the Great Conjunction. December 21st, the winter solstice, is one of those 4 times of the year where we have equal energies of day. I'm sorry, that is not true. That's the equinox. The winter solstice is the darkest day of the year in terms of the most hours in a 24-hour period of darkness. But it is the final day. From December 22nd onward, the light is growing every single day. So December 21st is significant that the Great Conjunction happened on that day because it was really truly the mark of the end of a dark period in humanity in terms of our consciousness. We can use many different words to describe this. We could say it was the beginning of the end of the age of Pisces. We could say it was the beginning of the end of the patriarchy. The Kali Yuga that we learn about in the ancient Indian culture, they have prophesized this. Every indigenous and ancient culture has prophesized this time. The end of a darkness, the end of a great sleep, the end of a disconnection, and the end of the forgetting of humanity. We are now from December 21st, when Jupiter and Saturn became conjunct in the sky by degree, exact degree, 0 degrees, new starting point, right? This was the beginning of the remembering. This was the beginning of the awakening for all of us. So let me break this down in terms of the planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter, the great benefic, as the ancient astrologers termed it. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system and therefore represents expansion. Expansion of all kinds, but specifically spiritual expansion. Jupiter represents learning, blessings, gratitude, abundance, appreciation, optimism, being larger than life in a very beautiful, expansive way. And so Saturn, some people, some astrologers see a real push-pull with Jupiter and Saturn. I don't necessarily see it in this context in that way, but Saturn does represent, where Jupiter represents expansion, Saturn can represent restriction, boundaries, working hard, work ethic. But Saturn also represents timing, time, divine timing, karma, reaping what you have sown, right? Which essentially is karma. There's no judgment there. It's whatever you've planted, it will grow, right? So when these two planets come together every 20 years, it is a reset for humanity. It is another point in our evolution. It is when we reach a point where we are wrapping up karmic cycles, both on the world stage collectively for all of humanity. Like we are on a very wide scale, on a macro scale, when we're talking about the collective consciousness of where humanity's at. We are wrapping up old cycles. We are done with them. And we are expanding now into our next level in our evolution. And this happens all throughout time with our consciousness. We do not evolve and grow and innovate and shift and expand our perspective without our consciousness expanding. And that is the Jupiter aspect, right? That is the Jupiter layer. Saturn coming into this picture is bringing the karmic closures, saying, okay, we have learned the lessons. We have cycled in this energy for 20 years. Enough of us have paid our debts, have done the work, have put in the work to heal ourselves. And we are ready now to release, to be done with these karmic cycles so that we can now shift into our next level. So we can level up, really. And so I also see when Jupiter and Saturn come together in this conjunction, that Saturn, because Saturn represents the boundaries, okay, for us. First of all, Saturn kind of is the planet of boundaries in our solar system, okay? Saturn is a bridge between the personal planets and the outer planets. It's a bridge, and it is a delineation. It is a line that is drawn between the personal experience and the collective experience. That is how I see Saturn. And so Saturn represents boundaries. Saturn represents a delineation, right? Where we are done with this and now we can move into this, the next. And so Saturn and Jupiter coming together back in 2020, I feel that Saturn, and remember, Saturn is represents what we have completed and can put a boundary around that, like kind of like put it in a box, okay? And so the way I see when Saturn and Jupiter come together in this conjunction is that, you know, because Jupiter can just expand and expand and expand, like with no stop button, right? It's just forever expansion. But the truth is that humanity can't handle that, okay? We need some boundaries around that in this 20-year cycle. We need to know in what ways are we expanding and where does that end? And that's where Saturn comes in to help us, to give us structure, to give us the boundary of, okay, this is the structure, this is the boundary, this is the box. Let's all get into this box over here. This is the box of spiritual expansion for the next 20 years, but we're not going to go further than this at this time. Okay, Saturn is very, very good at that, providing healthy boundaries for us. And, you know, I often think of Saturn in this light. So if you're a parent, if you have young children, you know that children benefit from boundaries and rules, right? It's important. They feel safe. They feel emotionally safe when they know what the rules are, when they know what the expectations are. Now, obviously, I mean that in a healthy way, in a loving and compassionate way. But, you know, we can't just let children, you know, run amok. They don't actually feel emotionally safe if that is their environment. And so routines are really good for children, young children. Having expectations of how the day is going to go to a certain extent, right? We don't want to take that too far either. But we also don't want Jupiter to just expand and expand and expand the way we would just let children absolutely just run the show all day long, doing whatever they want, you know, jumping off the furniture and off the countertops and eating whatever they want, right? And you get my point, right? So it's this, to me, there is no it's not a confrontation. It's not a I have no what's the word I'm looking for? I don't see any conflict with Jupiter and Saturn coming together in this way. I actually see it as just this absolute beautiful balance of expansion, in this case, spiritual expansion, but with some healthy boundaries and structure around that. Not to mention that Saturn gives us the delineation of what we are karmically done with, both on a personal and a collective level, so that we are clear on it. It becomes really clear. I think everyone out here listening to this podcast right now, I think if you stop for a moment and you look back at your life for the last 4 years since 2020, think about what you've completed. Think about what you have said goodbye to, what you have decided for yourself in your life that you're done with, or that the universe has decided is done in your life. It could have played out that way, that things have ended, people have left, either by passing on and transitioning, or by relationships ending in some way, shape, or form. You've left jobs. You've had realizations that you are just simply done with friendships and relationships. You're done with addictions and habits. You're done with beliefs. You're done with dynamics. I mean, you get what I'm sharing here, right? You get what I'm putting down. Since 2020, we have made huge shifts in what we are just no longer a part of. We have made the delineation in our own lives of what we are done with. And when each individual person awakens to this in their own life, this is then shifting on the macro scale. This is shifting all of humanity, what we are simply finished with. And these karmic cycles have been ending, and now it comes to this week, my friends. Since 2020, when Jupiter and Saturn met at that 0-degree point on the darkest day, right, where we were saying, okay, we're done with the darkness. We are making a shift. We are beginning a new 20-year cycle. Now, 4 years later, we are now experiencing Jupiter and Saturn coming into their first aspect since 2020, since that conjunction, the Great Conjunction. This is significant. This is the first time they're meeting up now. Yes, it's in a different aspect. It is in a square, and I'm going to talk about that, why that is significant. And don't worry, I am going to get into the moon, because we are building this week. The moon is growing in her intensity. And on next Monday, the 19th, we're going to have the Aquarius full moon. That is so significant, guys. I mean, I could not make this up if I tried. So Jupiter and Saturn this week, just a couple of days before this full moon in Aquarius, Jupiter and Saturn are coming into an exact square. And if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that a square is an aspect of tension. It's an aspect that motivates us to action. And sometimes, I'm going to be real, sometimes it's through anger, it's through frustration, it's through like a boiling point where you're just like, you know what, I'm freaking done. Like, I'm just done with this, right? A square is an aspect where you literally think about the square, okay? Think about those 90-degree angles, right? And so if you're traveling down one of the lines of a square and you get to that point, the meeting point, and you have to turn the corner. That's what a square is for me. You're turning a corner. And you're very often going to take some action. The square motivates us to make a change. Look, would it be incredible if the only aspects that we had were the trines and the sextiles, right? Where, oh, it's harmonious and it's beautiful and, you know, it's supportive. Yes, but you know what? That's not life. We know this, right? And the truth is, you know what that would be like? That would be like if we just lived in the clouds, eating bonbons all day, watching the rainbows, seeing the unicorns. We would never grow. We would never evolve. And truthfully, if we're being honest, that would get old. It would get boring. So we need the squares. I never, the way that I teach and when I do these podcasts and when I teach moon school, like fear is just not a part of my vibration. And I never go there. And I know that some astrologers will, that's how they see squares a little bit, right? That like, oh, the shit's going to hit the fan and, watch out. And that's just not me. Okay. And the way that I see squares they are motivating aspects for us to take action and make change so that we can evolve and grow. And I'm here for it. Okay. So this week, Jupiter, the planet of our spiritual expansion, and Saturn, the planet of karma and boundaries and putting in the work to reap the rewards, they're coming into a square this week. And the way I see this is that it's the first checking in point, guys, since that great conjunction in 2020. This is the first assessment, if you will. Let's check in. Let's sit down and have a check-in and be really, really honest. Because, Jupiter is about truth too. So let's be honest. Let's be honest with ourselves about if we, since 2020, okay, if we've known that something in our life really does need to change, okay, but we haven't pulled the trigger. Ugh, I hate that expression. If we haven't stepped up and really made the changes that we know need to take place, okay, this is the checking in point. This is the universe, Saturn and Jupiter are going to really highlight for us what in our life we've still kind of kept under the rug. That shit is coming to the surface, okay? And we're gonna have to be real honest with ourselves that we need to deal with it now, okay? Because we're ready. Because we're ready. You're ready for it. So if something shows up for you this week, it could have already showed up. It could have showed up this past weekend, last week. If it's showing up for you this week where something comes to a head, right? Because that's what squares do. It can create conflict in your life. But the reason for that is so that you can see it so damn clearly that you can't ignore it anymore. That's the whole point of that, right? Because we cannot change what we do not see, right? And so something may become really apparent to you this week. You can't ignore it. It's loud and clear, and it needs to be dealt with so that you can move into your next level of expansion in your life. It's really beautiful. So please keep that in mind, that if something shows up in your life this week that, if you're being honest with yourself, you're like, okay, yeah, I know that this has been on the back burner and now it needs to come up to the front burner and I got to boil that shit because I need to be done with that. I need to deal with it head on so that when I say done with that, I don't necessarily mean in some way it means that you're dealing with something that you haven't dealt with head on, and the truth of it is coming to light so that you can put the work in, Saturn. The truth is coming to light, Jupiter, so that you can put the work in, so that now, once you acknowledge that, and it's no longer under the rug, it's now out in the open, then you can start to heal it. You can start to step into your next level and evolve with this. Okay? That is the whole point of all of this. That is the whole point of this life, guys. It's Earth School. We came here for this. We came here for this during this beautiful time of expansion. It's magnificent, so please do not lose sight of that. That is what is happening this week. That is happening, I believe, on the 17th. It's going to be exact, but the truth is that the energy is building all week. So this may play out for you depending on your chart, right? And how this is showing up in your chart, when it may really reveal itself to you. And so, yes, the exact degree point, is going to be on the 17th, but that is less important to me. What's important is that you understand that this is at play all week. This is the backdrop, and this is going to show up for each of us in some way, shape, or form. So now that you know it, now that you are expecting it, now that you're going to recognize it when it shows up in your life, and you're going to be like, okay, here it is. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this expansion, and I'm ready to have healthy boundaries around this expansion. And I'm ready to complete yet another cycle in this next 20 years. And when you are truthful with yourself, when you can sit with the truth of this, and you can allow yourself to be open to how you're going to expand from this, you're going to feel ready. You're going to feel yet another level of of being your true authentic self. It's gonna feel like, you know what? I might not have been ready for this before, but I am now. And so that is part and parcel to all of the healing work that you've been doing for the last 4 years. Please take a moment. Take a moment to really reflect on how you have grown and changed since 2020. You are not the same person. I guarantee it if you're listening to this. You have grown and evolved in such incredible ways. You're not even the same person that you were 4 years ago, and you will not be the same person you are today 4 years from now. So take a moment and please love on yourself, and please show yourself some compassion. Give yourself some validation and acknowledgement of all that you have been through, and really know your resiliency. Really know that you can handle anything. And even if you feel this week that it's tough, that you are maybe in the throes of some emotional turmoil, or if you've been feeling anxiety or anything that feels overwhelming, please know that it's purging through you. Okay, you are releasing it because you're ready. You're ready to do that, and you're ready to let go of trauma. You're ready to let go of old ways, old dynamics, old limiting beliefs, the old ways of the conditioning and the harsh self-talk, like whatever whatever it is for you, the dynamics that you've had with others, all right? Like whatever it is for you, please know that you are right on time and we are doing this together. You are not alone, okay? Okay, that is the huge backdrop for this week. I want you to know also, my friends, all week long, the sun is trining Chiron. The sun. We are still in, until Monday, this Lionsgate energy of spiritual expansion, of receiving those beautiful divine downloads, having those epiphanies, making those connections of seeing something from a perspective that you've never seen before. And the sun, while in Leo, while it's still in that alignment with Sirius, our spiritual sun, the divine beaming down to us, all that unconditional love, that next level in our evolution. While the sun is still receiving that beautiful, exquisite energy, the sun is also all week long trining Chiron, the wounded healer. And when it's a trine, that is that beautiful, harmonious energy just supporting us and loving us in our healing. So while all week long we have Jupiter and Saturn moving into this square, we also have the sun trining Chiron. The sun is our sense of self, guys. It is the light codes from spirit, the beautiful divine love, the divine wisdom. And it is the sun is making this beautiful harmonious aspect to the wounded healer, which we must go into the wounding to heal, but then, oh boy, we evolve into the healed version of ourselves. That's why we came. That's why we are here at this time. So that is some beautiful supportive energy that's also happening all week long, because the sun is getting closer and closer in terms of the degree point towards that perfect trine with Chiron towards the end of the week as well. So while we are having the square happening between Jupiter and Saturn, we are also having the beautiful harmonious support from the sun and Chiron on our own individual healing journeys. So if you are feeling like you need some loving support, close your eyes and think about the sun and think about Chiron is a centaur, right? The centaur is the half man, half horse with the archery, right? The bow and arrow, the bow and arrow. And just picture that they are shooting that arrow of healing wherever you need it. It's an energetic arrow of healing. Picture the sun's beautiful rays. You know when you take a picture of the sun and the beautiful rays and you can see those gorgeous rainbow energy light codes in the photo? Just picture that. Be open to receiving that healing. Okay. Now, I also want to say that what is also happening all week long is that not only is it this Jupiter-Saturn square, but the planet Mars, okay, which, yes, the planet Mars in the lower expressions can be that warlike energy, the aggressive energy, the combative energy, the argumentative energy. Those are the lower expressions of Mars. And so, yes, I'm going to acknowledge that we may see some shit out on the world stage, okay? Because Mars is going to be conjunct Jupiter in Gemini. And so, yes, we may see that out in the world. Do not get caught up in that. That's not your energy, okay? If you do see it in your own life, if you're seeing conflict reaching a boiling point in your own life, just please stay centered. Choose whether or not or how you would like to respond to any aggressive energy in your world, because we always have a choice, okay? And I was just speaking to one of my closest friends about this yesterday, that, the truth is that we are at a time now on the planet where there's a very strong delineation. There's a line in the sand between those of us who are on the healing journey, the growth journey, who are evolving, who are putting in the inner work, who are extraordinarily self-aware, and who are embodying the energy of kindness and compassion. And then there are those who are not doing the work, who are extremely wounded, and they are projecting that wounding out onto everyone around them. They are extremely combative. They are mean. They are aggressive. And we need to make a choice. Are we going to engage with that energy or not? We have a choice in every instance. And my advice is that the answer is no. No, we will not engage in that catabolic energy. Years ago when I was in coaching school, we learned the terms, the way that it was taught to us in this particular program was that there is catabolic energy and that there is anabolic energy. And these are actually scientific terms. And it is the way that cells operate. And the catabolic energy is literally destructive. It is when cells are being destructive. Catabolic energy. Anabolic energy is growth. It is expansion. It is healing. And so the other thing is that catabolic energy is stronger than anabolic energy. The destructive, if you think about cancer cells, those are catabolic cells. They are destructive. And so once the catabolic energy enters into the anabolic sphere, it will be stronger. And what I mean by that in terms of our energy and dealing with others who are in that energy, you can be the most peaceful, joyful, happy person. And if you bump into someone on the street and they are physically aggressive with you or verbally aggressive with you, and they are mean and hateful, that will destroy your peace, even if just for a moment, okay? If you are so disciplined and untouchable in your anabolic energy, in your joy, peace, and love, I guarantee you, if you encounter that, even if for a moment, you will be taken down into that catabolic energy, even if just for a moment. For those of you out there who are such masters at maintaining that peace, no matter who you encounter, I guarantee even you would be taken down momentarily by that catabolic energy. Now, for the rest of us, myself included, I will be taken down for more than just a moment if I encounter that catabolic energy. And so this brings me back to the point that when we begin our day, we have to be really mindful that when we leave the house, when we leave our apartment, our home space, no matter who or what we encounter during our day, we have to choose to respond, not react, if we encounter that catabolic energy, that aggressive, impatient, mean, wounded, because really it's all coming from a deeply wounded place, right? Now, I am not saying we make excuses for that. I am not saying we are the whipping post. Hell no. Tap into that Saturn energy and put up your freaking boundaries, right? And then walk the fuck away. Do not engage. Do not engage, because the catabolic energy will bring you back down into that energy. It just will. It's just stronger, okay? Then you're going to have to recenter and bring yourself back to your homeostasis, your set point. Okay, so that is what is happening with Mars. Now, for those of us, hopefully, right, the higher expressions of Mars, conjunct Jupiter, are going to be that we're ready to take action. We feel motivated. We feel like we can advocate for ourselves and others, right? We can step up and be heard, and we can take the positive action that is needed now because we feel the motivation. That's how Mars is going to play out in the higher expressions when it becomes exactly conjunct Jupiter this week. So if you can, be aware, right, that others around you who are not self-aware, who are in that lower catabolic energy, they may show up real frickin', aggressive this week. We have a choice not to engage, and instead we can try to tap into that Mars conjunct Jupiter energy in a more positive, motivating, I'm ready to take action way, okay? And then the other thing that's happening with Mars is that Mars is going to make a square to Saturn before that Jupiter-Saturn exact conjunction happens. So when Mars and Saturn come together in a square, the ancient astrologers, they saw both of these planets as malefics. That's with an M, malefics. And so that meant, right, that was some of the more catabolic energy, the lower vibrations, especially coming into a square. So again, just be aware of how this may be showing up in your own life, okay? Do not react, get centered, take a breath, and choose how you want to respond. And sometimes responding means walking away. Sometimes that's how it can play out for us. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to touch on this week is the moon, of course, right? Our focus always in these podcasts is the moon, because the moon is the most personal planet. Everything that I've been talking about in this podcast today is the background, big energies that are playing out for us on the world stage and for the collective. And yes, absolutely going to play out in our own personal lives. But then when I speak about the moon, this is how we're going to feel it internally. Okay? And it was important for me to lay this whole backdrop for you this week, so now we could get into the personal energies of the moon. And as you can see on this slide, the moon represents our inner emotional world, the stuff others do not see. It's how we feel. It's how we process emotions. Our emotional intelligence. She represents the mother wound, the mother healing, memories. The moon also represents people and the collective and how we feel emotionally safe and secure. So let's get into the moon this week, the signs that she is moving through, okay? Because this is super significant leading up to this conjunction. I'm sorry, this square, not this conjunction, this square between Jupiter and Saturn. It's all tied together, guys. There is no coincidence and there is no randomness here. It is all divinely orchestrated for our growth, for our evolution. This is what our souls came here for. Okay, so as we begin this week, and I've been switching up our podcast so that we are beginning on Sundays. So the podcast goes from Sunday to Sunday. Okay? The moon is going to be in Scorpio. Sunday, Monday. Scorpio is that planet. I'm sorry, that sign of going deep. Scorpio doesn't do the superficial, right? Scorpio goes deep. Scorpio is very aware of the fears, what we're afraid of. So on Sunday and Monday, if you are feeling anxious, if you are feeling afraid of something, if you're worried about something, sit with that and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What is the worst case scenario? And is that even true? What is the likelihood of that playing out? Ask yourself these questions when the moon is in Scorpio, because sometimes the fear is so overwhelming for us, but the truth is not our fears. Fear is a liar. Fear, the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. I've said that a few times already in my podcasts, and I will continue to say that because it is a very important reminder to us. We need to differentiate that fear voice within us and the truth. The fear voice is coming from a wounded place. It is coming from our shadows and our ego that is trying to keep us safe, but quite frankly, is the overprotective parent that is simply not letting us grow and experience life because it's too damn afraid of getting hurt again. But the thing is that we're never going to grow. We're never going to evolve. We're not going to be able to experience life if we're letting fear run the show. So when the moon is in Scorpio, sit with that. If fears are coming up for you, write them down. Get them out of your head. Write down what your fears are. Legit. Write them down. Write a list of them. And then be like, okay, how true is that? What is the absolute worst case scenario? Write that shit out. And you're going to see the holes in it. You're going to see, no, this is really quite unlikely. And you're going to, that those fears are going to dissipate. They're going to dissipate like mist, just disappearing. Okay? What else do I want to say about Sunday, Monday? I mean, of course, there are other aspects happening with the moon. But I think, I think on Monday, the moon is going to be squaring the sun in Leo. So I feel like that's an opportunity to choose bravery, to choose your courage and your self-confidence, being confident in yourself, and really looking at how far you've come and giving yourself a hug and a pat on the back and saying, wow, I'm really resilient. Because, with the moon in Scorpio squaring that sun in Leo, remember the square is a bit of a conflict, but it encourages us to take action. And Leo, the sun in Leo, is so self-confident and has a really strong sense of oneself. And the sun in Leo is the brave-hearted leader. So be the leader in your life. Overcome whatever fears or anxiety or worries are creeping in at this point, and choose yourself and choose the truth, right? Choose the truth that you can handle anything. Okay, now the moon is going to make a shift on Tuesday into Sagittarius. And I love that because Sagittarius is going to also, the moon in Sagittarius, let me be clear. When the moon moves into Sagittarius, that is also going to be beaming that Jupiter energy, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about truth, expansion, learning, spirituality. So when the moon moves into Sagittarius, it's like a direct line to all of that backdrop energy of the square that's building all week. Now remember, Mercury is still retrograde. But let me see here. I don't want to misspeak, but Mercury retrograde is a time for reflection. It's a time to go within and think, Mercury, think, reflect on what you are ready to let go of, be done with, say goodbye to. But really to give it the proper time and reflection. And when I say reflection, what I mean by that is when you reflect on something, you're looking at it from an objective standpoint, okay? You're looking at the whole of the situation and you're asking yourself, what did I learn? Because Mercury is about learning. Absolutely. Mercury is the messenger from the gods. So what are they trying to teach us? Where's the wisdom? What can we learn from that situation? So when we reflect on situations during a Mercury retrograde, we are looking to learn from that. So again, reflect, see what is coming up for you, what is coming back from your past this week. Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's memories. Maybe this is coming in your dream state. It can play out in so many different ways. Just reflect and say, what have I learned? What do I want to do differently going forward? On Tuesday, when the moon is in Sagittarius, it's going to be trining the North Node. Remember, the North Node is our destined path forward. So when the moon is in expansive, truthful, spiritual Sagittarius, optimism, absolutely. We are feeling optimistic about our path forward. And that is a beautiful, beautiful feeling. So tap into that on Tuesday. All right, let's see. The moon is going to be in Sagittarius for 3 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. On Wednesday, the moon is going to square Saturn. Okay? And so you may be feeling a little restriction. You may be feeling like maybe some boundaries are needed. That's okay. If you feel like perhaps you're hitting a wall with something, like you're feeling some resistance, don't push it. See, what is this trying to show me? Or it could be playing out where you've been having like these incredible feelings of expansion, but now you need to just have a gentle boundary. Maybe with others, maybe for yourself, whatever it is, you'll know. Let's see. The moon is also on Wednesday going to be opposing that Mars and Jupiter. Mars and Jupiter are together in Gemini, and the moon is going to be opposing them. So Mars and Jupiter together opposing the moon in Sagittarius, that's like, I mean, that is some really huge energy of expansion. So you really may be feeling like, I see that as a really beautiful energy. Like you are so ready to take the next steps on your journey. And you're motivated. That Mars is going to bring you the motivation. That Jupiter is going to bring you even more expansion. And you may be getting some real spiritual insights now. And remember what I said all week long, the sun is trining Chiron. And so it's like you're showing up as this new healed sense of self. And you're feeling optimistic about your healing now. And that whatever still needs to be healed, you've got it. You've got this. Like, I'm not saying like we're totally healed, right? And like, okay, like all of that is in the past. I mean, I don't think that's ever the case. I think as long as we are breathing, life into these bodies, we're always going to have something to heal, because that's why we came. But what I do believe for this week is that we're going to feel really positive and optimistic about how much we've healed so far, and that we have the confidence that whatever we're needing to heal now, we can do it. We can tackle it. We can gently and compassionately step into this new sense of self and apply the healing that's needed now. And that we're going to feel like we can do it. Yes, we can say, yes, I can handle this. Let's see. So the sun is going to be in an exact trine with Chiron on Thursday. And Mercury on Thursday is going to be opposing Pluto. And I thought that was important to share because, Pluto in Aquarius is significant when it's opposing Mercury, the way we think, the way we communicate. It's innovative. It's thinking out of the box. It is having those epiphanies, those bolts of lightning where we're like, damn, I see the truth. Because both Mercury and Pluto deliver truth in their own ways. And so something may be unearthed that was hidden to you in your own mind, in your own world. And this is significant because we are approaching the full moon in Aquarius on Monday the 19th. And I will discuss that in detail for next week's podcast. But I can't not mention it now because these energies are all building towards that. Aquarius is about your true authentic self, but it is also about the collective. What have I been talking about this entire time? With this first quarter, right, turning point of karmic closures, of spiritual evolution, of healing with this Jupiter-Saturn square. This is happening for us on an individual level, so that we can step more into our true authentic self, so that the collective can wrap up these karmic cycles, choose to respond differently, right? And this is all leading to the full moon in Aquarius. It's all connected. Can you see how it's all, I'm trying to weave this all together for you. And so on Thursday, we have not only that Pluto is opposing Mercury, but we are having Mars still in the square to Saturn and Jupiter squaring Saturn. It's all building towards the exact square on Thursday. And while I do feel that those exact alignments are significant, I feel it's more important for us to just have the awareness about it all week long, because depending on your own personal chart, it's going to play out for you differently, maybe on different days, on a different day for you than it is for somebody else. So it's really just about the backdrop, okay, of these significant energies that are playing out all week long. So what I really want to say about the moon this week, as she moves through the rest of the week, Thursday, Friday, into the weekend, she's going to be waxing the whole week. Waxing is growing in light. She is getting bigger and brighter in the sky all week long. Every day that passes, she's getting bigger and brighter. She moves from Scorpio to Sagittarius to Capricorn, that grounded earth energy, which, by the way, is ruled by Saturn. Yet another connection point to the Saturn-Jupiter square. Can you see? Can you see the divine orchestration here? The beautiful weaving. This is a tapestry so beautifully woven this week for us in making all of these connection points. So when the moon moves into Capricorn, now we're feeling the stability, the work ethic, the boundaries, what's needed, what is needed now. Where do we need to put the work in? Where do we need to put up the boundaries? What structures are needed in our life right now? That is what the moon in Capricorn is asking of us. So when the moon is in Capricorn on Friday, that's grounded earth energy. It's grounded earth energy. It's also, the moon in Capricorn is also helping to transmit that Saturn energy of the Jupiter-Saturn square. So we are feeling, that structure. We are feeling also those karmic completions. So coming by the end of the week, we really may be feeling like, okay, I'm done with XYZ. That may be very, very clear to you on an emotional level. The moon is our emotions, right? So just be open to that. Be open to expecting that come Friday. Okay? Friday into Saturday, moon in Capricorn. So next weekend you really may be feeling that completion, and also because remember the moon is waxing, and so the moon is approaching that full moon stage phase on Monday, and we know that the full moons are about completion of a cycle. Full moons are also that beautiful illumination point where we really truly see the truth. The light is shining on it. We can't ignore it anymore. So whatever is coming up for you by next weekend, just know you're right on time. You're ready to be done with it. You're emotionally done with it. Trust that within yourself. And then begin to get ready for that full moon in Aquarius, because that's a big one. And I will get into that more, because it really is next Monday. So I will get into that for next week's podcast. I'm going to really focus on that full moon in Aquarius, because it's a biggie. But please know that everything this week is weaving this exquisite tapestry for us. It's a checking in point of how far we have come in the last 4 years on our spiritual journeys with the inner work, who we are now compared to who we were then. It is a time to decide how we want to move forward in our lives. It is a checking in point about what we are karmically finished with and the truth around that. And we may really be clear, being able to see the truth about the changes that we may need to start making now going forward. And so trust in the tapestry. Trust in the cosmos. Trust in your higher self. We are here now because our souls chose this time. It is magnificent. We are here for the turning of the ages, my friends. We are here to heal lifetimes of karma so that we will not repeat it again. Because when we come back again, it's going to be the new earth in full bloom. We are the pioneers. We are the pioneers creating the new earth now. The healing must start with each one of us individually, and it will ripple out to the collective. So I'm going to leave you with that. I love you all so much, and I'm sending you so much empowered energy, truth, love, compassion. You've got this, guys. It's a big week, and you're here for it. You are ready. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear how this week plays out for you, and I will see you soon under the moon. Bye-bye for now.